Well, the uniqueness of Keaton Beach with our canal system and channel system is pretty much 360-day access. Now, there are extreme situations in the winter. If you have a 20-knot wind blowing offshore and you have a negative tide and a negative 1 or 1.5 foot moon tide, you might not have sufficient water to exit, but it's usually less than 10 or 12 days out of the year. Whereas the rest of the access points, excepting Steinhatchee River, the rest of our access points from here north are all tide determined or tide allowed. You can't get your boat in until you have enough water to get over the rocks or the bars at the entrance to those creeks and or rivers, such as Fenn Holloway, Econfina, Spring Warrior, Osceola. All of those areas require a certain amount of water in order to be used as access. As most people are aware of that fish the Gulf, the water quality itself is what allows the grass or feeds the grass. The nutrients in the water can't be overloaded like these certain incidents we've had with too much phosphate coming out of the freshwater system of Okeechobee lately. And so the biochemistry or the chemistry itself of the water needs to stay balanced for this grass to be healthy. The grass is the reason why Keaton in this part of the Big Bend region is so productive. The grass becomes a nursery for all species, but most importantly for the pinfish. And pinfish are the bread of life for these coastal species, whether they're, what we call locals like the trout and reds, or they're the migratory species. And so as the grass goes, so go the pinfish, so go the rest of the species. And the loss of habitat in the loss of grass to the south is directly related to the number of human beings. Because not only the phosphate runoffs from fertilizer, but just the use of the water itself and the runoff of fresh water into there with whatever pollutants. I first came to Keaton Beach in 1970 specifically, but I first came to Taylor County in 1968. And the quality of fishing here, I've been guiding 29 years. I started my guide service in 90. And in my opinion, we have as many or more fish as we've ever had. And this is because we have a built-in cushion or protection of the fact that this area is not developed. We have 47 miles of coastline in Taylor County alone, and here at Keaton Beach, Deacle, and the little islands here of Cedar, Dark, and Bird Island is less than 2 miles, maybe 3 miles of developed coast. That's it. The rest of the 47 miles of Taylor County either belongs to the state of Florida or it belongs to the paper companies and the timber companies, which are not going to sell that land.
Because the fish are looking up and they can see, if they can't even see it, they hear vibration.
Well, they're not even looking up until you make a noise.
Okay.
As I believe, and no one can say, because no one's talked to a trout.
Yeah.
But if he was out looking for you, then you could troll a lure that didn't make any noise and catch him. But he's not that kind of fish.
Not like a grouper or anything.
No, he's not looking around for a fight.
Yeah.
He's not aggressive enough. he's not fast enough to escape his predators. So he's going to stay hidden. This changes the way you call them out to your baits and how long you fish. Most people cast a basic 30-40 foot cast because they're used to fishing in ponds for panfish or bass. And that's sufficient when you're doing that. But here we're after a wary fish that's not coming close to the boat. And so the people that are able to cast with the way I showed you, and it's very hard to explain that without a rod in my hand, but the type and the way that I teach, and the reason I spend an inordinate amount of time teaching casting is that is how you catch these fish. I basically am a teaching guide service. I spend more time teaching people that have never been or just bought a boat and want to learn to fish, how to fish for these trout and reds in the Gulf of Mexico here in the Big Bend. But what I do is I fish with live bait, because fishing with live bait teaches those principles. To see physically that you have a fish before you catch him, to me, that's what my customers live for. And I get to live vicariously through that, through their catch.